What is your most embarrassing, you were not supposed to see that story? These are the internet's best answers to that question. I still laugh about the time I walked in on my wife looking at her butthole in the mirror, standing head between the legs. I've never seen anyone shoot up quicker when casually asked, "What you doing?" She tells me to this day that I walk too quietly. We have a single-person bathroom in my office. Last week, I started earlier on Monday than I ever had before. I took my morning poop, but I couldn't flush it down because the pipes were frozen, which is apparently common on a Monday morning, and you're meant to do a test flush. I had to ask my manager for his space heater, which took an hour to thaw the pipes enough for me to dispose of my shame. I sent a sext to a co-worker instead of my girlfriend. Yeesh, that was awkward. My first day of work at a new job, as the only dude on a team of 9 women. I was adjusting a setting on an app I have. I realized it was going to go off soon, and now that I was at a new job, I no longer wanted this daily notification. This app is known for being very inappropriate and sarcastic. As I was adjusting it, it said very loudly, "I watch you while you sleep." I then had to show all my new co-workers the app so that they wouldn't think I was doing something weird at work. It was Carrot Alarm Clock. Funny app, but not one you want going off at work. What a good first impression. My aunt asked if I was talking to anyone. I said yeah, and coincidentally, that girl just sent me a snap. I was like, oh, this is her, let's see what she said. It was a nude. Another great first impression. My sister caught me talking to older women. She said I'm terrible at texting. I got back to my dorm after class, opened the door to my room, and was treated to the sight of my roommate's scrawny butt and his girlfriend's legs in the air. From then on, he let me know anytime she was coming to visit. I used to work at Mayors, and every couple of months, we had to take an updated training test on a computer in a room built in with the break room. I went back to take my test and heard someone come in and start eating lunch. I was out of sight, so the girl that came in perceived to be alone. I finished my test, and when I got up and started to walk into the break room from the computer room, she let out the loudest, nastiest, greasiest fart I've ever heard in my life. She looked me right in the eyes, mid-fart, as I came walking in. She was always a snobby co-worker that was rude to me. She was never after that day. I guess she was scared I'd tell people the story. I didn't say anything to her. I just walked out fast so the stench wouldn't hit my nose. Greasiest? That's disgusting. This is not a sexy thing, but it's still super embarrassing. Warning, this is really gross. In middle school, I sneezed at lunch. I didn't expect that the sneeze would send a bunch of snot and mucus flying, landing on my arm, still dangling from my nose. Seriously, there was so much. I've never sneezed like that before or since. I panicked because I had nothing to wipe it on, no way to clean it up without drawing attention, so I just sucked it back in, thinking I was being discreet since I was sitting alone. Nope. 4 to 5 boys sitting at another table all saw me and freaked out. Some saying how gross it was, others just staring in horror. I wanted to melt into the floor. Probably 10 years ago, my brother-in-law lived with us. I was 38, he was mid-20s. I'm a larger, hairy dad. It's relevant. Anyway, one night around midnight, my wife and kids were all asleep, and he came home and locked eyes with me on the floor in the middle of the living room, totally red-faced, playing the kids' Hannah Montana video game on the Wii. My cousin was visiting this past weekend. I have 3 German Shepherds who have no concept of personal space. On Friday, one of them jumped up to lick her face, and on the way down, a paw caught her pants, so saw cousins downstairs. On Saturday, she was in a crop top and outside with me while I was smoking. The dog tried again to lick her face, but caught her shirts and put her boobs out on display. So the short answer is, I found out my cousin has a lot of piercings, lol. I used to have my ex-boyfriend saved as daddy tongue emoji in my phone. I know, cringe, but it was our little joke. I had my father saved as daddy love heart emoji as well. I stupidly thought that the difference in emojis would save me from majorly embarrassing myself. Well, I got a new bra and I sent a picture of myself in it to the wrong daddy. My eyes widened as it sent, and in that moment, I wished a giant hole would appear in the ground out of nowhere so I could jump in it. I frantically tried to save the situation and told him that I actually meant to send that picture to my mum to show her my new bra. He didn't reply until a couple of days later, and all he said was, okay. We have never spoken about that moment to this day. That's probably for the best. I mean, literally 2 letters. Does it get worse than that? I was at MD Anderson Hospital. I opened the door to a unisex bathroom. There, with her drawers down, was the head of the dermatology department. After that, she came in to examine me with 4 interns. Wow. When I was like 17, I was singing Lights by Ellie Goulding in my kitchen, dancing around and pretending my phone was a microphone. Must have been around 2012. Later that day, I went to my grandma's. Now, she had a voicemail of me singing it, and she played it for me, and I was basically like, dang, that's crazy. I don't know what that is, knowing full well it was me the entire time. I was trying out a kink website to try and meet people with my same kink in my area. My hairdresser is a family friend, and her weirdo son turns out to be on the site. And although we aren't even in the same area, he DMs me and basically doxes himself in the process. 3 months later, when helping me move, my mum casually mentions that my hairdresser told her about my kink profile because her weirdo son told her about it. When I say I wanted to frickin' die. My girlfriend was going out for field work very early in the morning, 5:30 a.m, and I thought she'd locked herself out of the house after needing to get more supplies from the house. So I answered the door naked, thinking it was her. It was actually her attractive co-worker, friend. I was very groggy. She saw everything. So, I do stuff with my boyfriend that involves a lot of photos and videos. At my new job, it's very uptight and professional. We had this team bonding thing, where we'd go around and connect our phones to a Bluetooth projector and show everyone a place we vacationed to or wanted to vacation to. Stupid corporate stuff I'm sure you've all had to do before. I'd been there about 2 weeks and there were 40 or so of us in the room. The boss called on me because I'm the new girl and yeah, connected to Bluetooth, and now everyone at work knows what I look like naked, as I fumbled my phone trying to pull up these pics we took at Sedona. It was dead quiet until they awkwardly moved on to someone else. Oh my god, when silence is deafening. I got a job once. The boss had also hired her mum in an act of flagrant nepotism. The mum was somewhat irritating and would never stop talking. Among the several thousand or so things she mentioned, she told me about how her daughter was dating a guy at the same office. Well, come to find out, they were in a relationship forbidden by office rules, and I wasn't supposed to know that. So I ended up losing my job because my boss decided not to risk me letting her secret out, which I only found out about because among the many rules she broke, she was having the company pay her mum to sit there and irritate people. My wife was out of town for a few days. 3-year-old twins were down for a nap. I needed a little time to myself. Stupid me didn't grab a blanket. At precisely the moment of triumph, 3-year-old toddled in. His eyes went wide. Daddy, why are your pee white? He's dang near 16 now. That memory still sets my teeth on edge. Long story short, I went to a daycare with gangs that made it hard to use the bathroom during outside time. I took a poop in the bushes on the side of the house and got caught. The lady who ran the daycare waited for my dad to get there, then made me use a paper bag to pick it up in front of him. Okay, embarrassing sure, but you went to a daycare with gangs? What? I need to know more. Another return to my corporate software development days. Having bought a very large regional bank, we need to convert those accounts onto our systems. More complicated than it sounds for legal reasons. We are getting ready to test the conversation. We were starting small, then would run in parallel the multi-week conversation. I'd been gifted with setting up a command center for us in software development. I analyzed the size of development teams, their involvement in the conversation, what other projects they were involved with, and so on. I wrote a memo outlining how many people each development area needed to provide and when. I attached the memo to the email, addressing it to senior VPs, more senior VPs, and the CIO. I emphasized that full coverage was needed and they were responsible for providing bodies, including the words, shifts cannot be dropped, they must be covered. But MS Word didn't flag misspelling shifts without the F. So yes, I wrote, you know what, cannot be dropped, they must be covered. I had my chops busted by every one of the recipients. It started with my boss's boss and the senior PM trying to convince me that HR wanted to speak with me. I could have believed it if they weren't falling out of their chairs giggling. Oh, when I was like 16, I had a mole on one of my butt cheeks, and I had to take a picture of it to show and send to my doctors, because it didn't look right. I'm a girl, by the way. I totally forgot to delete the photos off my phone, and I went into school the next day. And one of my friends, a guy, needed to use my phone for some classwork. So he took a picture of some work, and when he opened up the Photos app, He and some others at the table sitting there just see some photos of me and my butt out, butt naked, showcasing this mole. Safe to say, I was so embarrassed. Well, I'm not surprised. And there we go, guys. Those are the internet's best answers to the question, what is your most embarrassing, you were not supposed to see that story? Now it's your time. Get involved. Get down the comment section. I want to hear your stories. Listen, I can imagine that a few of you have walked in on some very precarious events. Let me just say that. Now, for me personally, I do have a couple of things that spring to mind, but I'm not quite sure that I want to say them on YouTube, if I'm honest. Maybe I'll leave those for another time. Yeah, a little bit NSFW, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did and you want more Ask Reddit content straight away, check out my playlist of all my Ask Reddit videos. There are some cracking questions and answers in that if you want to go through and watch them all. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already done so, hit this button and subscribe. And also, if you look down here, wow, I'm on Spotify and Apple. Did you know that you can listen to my videos as podcasts? And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, you can watch the podcast in video form over on my YouTube. Amazing. What a crossover.